Hey everybody, in today's video we're going to talk about some safety measures I take to ensure my trailer is not stolen, hopefully, when I park it and leave it to go into town, or maybe even for when we go on our extended hikes. Recently, a new subscriber named Oscar Mike left me a comment asking about the removable coupler this trailer has, which reminded me I've been intending to do a video on these deterrent methods that I use. So here we go. First, before we go any further, I do want to thank my new subscribers for joining us on our adventures. We hope our videos are helpful or entertaining or something meaningful to you maybe in some way. Now, I want to state that the reality is that if someone has real ill intent, no matter the deterrents that you use, where there is a will, there is a way. Now, I am a person that believes that most people are good. I also believe that people don't come deep into the forest or deep into the desert just to mess with you or to steal your stuff. So I don't stress it that hard. Also, for many of you that know, I lived the past 13 years or so in the city of Chicago, and I don't mean like Schaumburg or Naperville. I mean I lived very close to the Austin neighborhood for a while. I lived in Lakeview, and then I spent most of my time just north side of Humboldt Park, couple miles from Wrigley Field. So I lived in the city, and I worked downtown very much. I've worked on the south side. I worked all over the place. So, you know, having some street smarts is ideal. I also realized that if shit's gonna go down, shit's gonna go down. So you can only do what you can do, and that which you cannot do, you cannot do. So yes, you want to set yourself up for success, but I don't think that there's any real reason to be paranoid, because by and large we live in a peaceful universe. I think. At least that theory has always gotten me by, knock on wood. I think it's still wise to use some deterrents, and a lot of times just having a visual deterrent is enough. So for instance, I equate it to like if you're worried about someone, look them in the eye. If I was ever weird about someone on the train or walking down the street, I just looked them in the eye and said hello to them. And 9 times out of 10, they're not going to fuck with you after that. Same thing, if you set your trailer up with some deterrents, people might just look at it and go, that's not worth the hassle. You know, it's one of the benefits. I've always been a slightly difficult person, I've been told, you know, being as independent as I am. And so basically, you know, you want to set yourself up to be a difficult victim, so you're not a victim. You know what I mean? So the deterrents that we're going to walk through today, they're not everything you could do, and they're not going to 100% bomb-proof it. If someone really wants to get to you, they're going to get to you. But I think a lot of it has to do with your mentality too. I believe that if you think that, you know, people are going to be good to you, then you're going to have a lot more likelihood of them being good to you. So I also want to say, nothing described in this video today is sponsored. I only have 90 subscribers. I'm not at a status to be sponsored. All of these suggestions and recommendations are just my personal experience, personal preference, personal research, things that I am using and believe in and would recommend. And if they want to eventually sponsor me, I ain't mad about it. What I really love about deterrents is it allows you to be as big of a pain in the ass as you possibly can be, which tells you a little bit about me maybe. I figure let's just start at the front. When I ordered my trailer, I had the option of ordering it with a removable coupler, which means this whole part that you hook up to is removable. And I opted for that because I felt like it was the most secure option. Now, there is a part of me, like many of us, that is very lazy. So I thought to myself, do I really want to remove this damn thing every single time that I want to go somewhere? And so I bought this Master Lock coupler lock. And I had it on in Wisconsin while I was doing the build out, and things started freezing, which meant when it was time to hitch up and head south, the lock on this was actually frozen. So I simply took a hammer and knocked the damn thing off, which means it's not a very good security measure anyway. Upon some research, apparently these are very easy to just knock off. And in addition to that, they don't have unique keys. So it means that a criminal could have several master lock keys and one of them might fit your coupler lock. So I don't recommend that at all. Now, Amp Lock, who makes the locking pin that I use, also makes a coupler lock, and I would highly recommend their coupler lock if you don't have a removable coupler, and I'll put a link to that below. So as I was saying, this trailer has a removable coupler. So I simply take out the pin and this whole piece is going to be removed. Which leaves me with this open hitch area, which theoretically someone could put an additional coupler into if they were so clever and somehow had time to figure all this out while I was away on a quick errand. So, to ensure extra safety, I use this Amp Lock locking pin, which I would highly recommend. I have one on my hitch ball as well to secure it to the truck. Even though I don't have that valuable of a hitch ball, it just makes sure that I don't have the issue of someone stealing my hitch ball while I'm in town or anything. Now, to ensure that no one could put an additional hitch or coupler in here, I then re-put in the pin that holds the coupler in here, and it just pops back on. Pop in the push button, put on the weatherproofing cap, and then it also has a pin. I was looking at other cheaper lock pins and they just had the key. This also has a pin, so it makes me feel better when I'm towing that this is the most secure that it can be for pulling the coupler with it. The other things that I really like about the Amp Lock products is they have a control key identification system for key security, and they are corrosion resistant, which means you can use them in all climates. If I was so worried about it, I would cross my chains and then padlock them down here to ensure that a thief would have another layer of deterrent so he couldn't just chain up the trailer despite the coupler being removed. A final piece of deterrent here at the tongue would be to remove the emergency brake pin, which would obviously create a big hassle for anyone trying to move the trailer. Another piece of deterrent we have here are the Tri-Max wheel lock chocks. They act as a chock. They're going to prevent the trailer from rolling, but they also act as a boot wood on a car. Now that means that technically someone could still try and pull the trailer with a boot on, just like I'm sure you have seen someone try and drive away with a boot on their car. I know I have. Is just another layer of being a pain in the ass to a criminal. Also, I am fully aware that someone could remove this tire and they still have the second axle and tires to go with. But again, what I'm looking for here is to be a big deterrent, right? And a visual deterrent is sometimes just as effective as a physical deterrent. This is going to be both. Another thing I invested in were Gorilla lug nut locks, and that would replace the lug nuts with locking lug nuts, which would also prevent someone from taking this tire off in order to roll away because of the boot. The lug nut locks, to me, were a pain in the ass for me. So I ended up donating them to the free pile at the RTR. Hopefully someone's using them. Now, while I have made my trailer as much of a pain in the ass to try and steal as I possibly can, I also try and deter someone from breaking into the trailer. So I have a double RV lock and I use a cam bar, which goes through there, and I use a weatherproof lock. Now, I highly recommend a weatherproof lock for the door because I had a different one on there and through moisture accumulation it started corroding and I could barely open it. My final piece of advice is, as much as you want to be a pain in the ass to a criminal, you want to protect your ass as well. So make sure that you get as much insurance on your home as possible. So when I got the trailer, I called around to a ton of different insurance companies, some of which just flat out rejected the idea of full-time living in a trailer of any sort. The insurance company that I ended up going with was Progressive. They have a full-time RVing policy, and they totally understood what I was doing with the cargo trailer and accepted it into that policy. So it means that not only do I have comprehensive and liability insurance on the trailer, but I also have the coverage of a homeowner or renter's policy. So even though I live an extreme minimalist life, and someone would be so frustrated and disappointed if they ever tried to break in and steal anything, I still want the little bit that I have as covered as possible. Thank you so much for watching. Riot and I really hope that you got something out of this video. If you did, please comment, share, subscribe, like, and all the analytic jazz in order to make us feel good and help us out analytically. Until next time, have a riot. Yeah, that happened.